everyone. So I have a bunch of betas right now. I think I'm up to 6 with 7, the 7th on her way. So I decided to talk about how to care for your beta. So a lot of people, when they get a beta, they think they can put it in like a tiny little bowl and just, feed it every day and it's fine. Actually, that is about the worst thing you could do for a beta. It is true that they can survive in that condition for a while, but the problem is they don't thrive in that condition, they just kind of exist. It's a sad life. It'd essentially be like, a comparison is no one would put their dog in a crate for their entire lives. That's essentially what you're doing to a beta in that situation. So, the minimum varies. Some people state that it's 2.5. Some people state that it's 5. Some people even go all the way up to a 15-gallon is really the smallest you should have for a beta. My minimum is a 5-gallon. I do not like to use 5 gallons too often, but I do occasionally use them. Right now, I have my male beta Thor in a 5-gallon because he is very large finned. I did have him in a 20-gallon and he hid behind the heater the entire time. But in that 5-gallon, he has really come out and his colors look amazing. He started eating, which he wasn't doing before, so he will stay in a 5-gallon because that's what I am able to see the best results with him. Now, if I'm purchasing a new tank, I try not to purchase anything less than a 10-gallon. But like I said, I do keep 5 gallons around because there are situations like that. Sometimes your minimum depends on your beta. Like, I have a very active beta who I'm going to switch to a 20-gallon because he swims back and forth around the tank and just goes insane. But I like to say 5 is the minimum, but if you're going to go out and purchase a new tank, please try and purchase a 10-gallon. There are 10-gallon tanks. If you live near a Walmart, they normally run you about $29, and then all you have to add is the heater and the decorations. Now, the next part of Betta Care, you must have a filter and a heater in your aquarium. Okay. Let's just ignore her. Anyways, that's my new leopard gecko. She's still a little shy. So, betas are tropical fish, which means they must be kept between 78 and 82 degrees normally. I think it's actually 76, but I always just keep their tanks at 78 degrees, and my betas all do really well. They also need a filter. A filter is important to establish the nitrogen cycle in the tank. The nitrogen cycle is where the fish wastes, which produce ammonia, are then converted to nitrite and then to nitrate. Now, ammonia can burn your fish, which is not good. So you want your ammonia to be at 0 parts per million. And then your nitrites you want to be as close to 0 parts per million as possible. So 0 on both of those is ideal. And then your nitrates can be up to about 20 parts per million. That is the last step. It really doesn't harm your fish, but it's not too good to have it around. But you should go with a filter that you can control the output on, because if you have a large finned male beta and a high output filter, that's going to catch the beta and it makes it hard for them to swim. And then if you have a female beta, the filter output can be a little stronger because their fins are a lot smaller, or if you have like a placat male beta. As for decorations, you have two kinds of decorations you can do. You can either use live plants or silk plants. You can also use hides and stuff. They really do appreciate those. But for the live plants, they obviously require a lot more care. I have two planted tanks right now, and over them I have actually specific bulbs to help the plants grow. It has both red and blue wavelengths to kind of like promote them to grow larger, and I've actually done really well with those. Like, I have a lot of growth coming out on my established planted tank, and then on my new planted tank we'll see how that goes, but it's had plants in it for 3 days now, so I really don't know how that one's gonna go. A lot of places will try and sell you plastic plants. The problem with plastic plants is they can easily tear your beta's fins. I had a beta named Sully, and he loved his plastic plants, but one day I found him in there and his tail was caught on it and he couldn't get off, so I had to like reach in and kind of like pull his tail off of the plastic plant, and I felt so bad. But please just, they do suggest doing the tissue test. If you go to a Petco or anything, their plants normally are like $12 for a 3-pack. A 3-pack of the background plants will fill out a 10-gallon decently. As for the live plants, like I said, you need the light, and then you need to dose with fertilizer or anything. But both of those plants are great for your beta. Now you do want to keep in mind like what other fish you're going to put in the tank with your beta, because those guys do have different requirements too. As for substrate, my substrate varies widely. I like to do more of a natural look, like I'll do some sort of natural rock, and then I get those bright pebbles and I mix it in, and it looks pretty good. I actually like using the finer gravel, and I do the natural and then the black and then the bright, and it turns out beautiful. Now with certain bottom feeders, you actually need to have sand. So I do have sand in a couple of my tanks because they can't have the roughness of the gravel, it'll cut them up. So like I said, you really gotta know the requirements of your other fish. Tank mates. You can have an aquarium with just one fish, but not a lot of people go for that. You see an aquarium and it's got a lot of fish and it looks gorgeous. Now, if you do the 5-gallon, I do not recommend any tank mates. It's just such a small tank. The old rule for stocking a tank, which I generally kind of use as a guideline, is 1 inch per fish, 1 inch of fish per gallon of water. So your beta is normally around like 2-ish inches, somewhere around there. Maybe a little smaller, maybe a little bigger, depending on what beta you have. So in a 5-gallon, that gives you 3 inches of fish. You're not going to find any sort of peaceful fish that can live, or that doesn't need a school, that you only need one to go with your beta. It's not the most ideal situation. But in a 10-gallon, there are a couple that you can put in it. Resboras, I've heard. I've never kept any, but they are peaceful and they are schooling fish, so you would need a minimum of 5 of them. Right now, in my 10-gallon, which it'll be my first like community 10-gallon, I generally reserve my community for a 20-gallon tank. It has 3 albino cory cats. Cory cats are an amazing addition to any aquarium. This will be my first time owning them, and I actually just got them today, but they kind of like go through the substrate of your tank and clean up any leftover food or grossness or anything, so they're kind of your cleanup crew. But they're actually kind of cool to watch. Like, mine have been moving all around the tank and going up to the top and then sifting around the bottom, and they're really cool. Now when you get to the 20 gallon, you do have more options. I have a bunch of tank mates in my 20 gallons. I have a mystery snail. Oh, in the 5 gallons you can have narite snails. But I have a mystery snail, a rubber lip placo who will be moved to a larger tank once he starts to get big. I have 3 African dwarf frogs, and then I have a school of neon tetras. The thing about the neon tetras I found out is if you have a problem with your tank, they're going to be the first to go, and they get stressed really easily. I had to deep clean my tank, and I lost 3 of my neons because it was just kind of a stressful environment. I had to fish them all out of the thing and move them to like a small tank while I took everything apart and cleaned it all. So they weren't happy, and I lost a couple. So if you get the neons, please know that you really have to watch what you're doing with them. The Placos I love. The thing is, they do get large, so if you only have a 20 gallon and have no way of moving them to a larger tank, please do not get them. They're going to get stunted, and it's just not a good situation for the fish. If I need to, I can move my Placo into the 55 gallon and it'll be alright. So he's in there for now because he's like this big. And then the mystery snails are actually pretty cool. They're like decently large snails, and they just kind of clean up too. Also, you can put shrimp in your tank. I've never done shrimp, but I know ghost shrimp and cherry shrimp. I'm actually thinking about getting some. However, my 2 community tanks right now are fully stocked, so I can't add any more fish to them. But the thing with the tank mates is you gotta watch the temperament of your beta. Like, I have a beta I would never put tank mates in with because he would eat them. And a lot of them can get along just fine, but occasionally you just get a beta that wants to eat them all. So make sure you watch that when you put them in. I do have the 2 community tanks, but I have 8 tanks now up and running, so if anything ever goes wrong with one of my betas in their community tank, I can swap them out and put a more peaceful beta in with them. But that's the basic care of a beta. I've probably forgotten something because I tend to ramble and not really have any organized thoughts, but this is just the general care, and if there's anything I'm doing wrong, please feel free to let me know, because we can always learn and grow and take better care of our animals. So I hope everyone will have a good time. Bye!